Hi, this is Josh Clark, and I'm here today to answer a question that I've been asked before, and that is, why as a Christian do I love or like network marketing? Well, great question, but before I answer it, I want to ask this favor of you. Will you just reserve judgment on network marketing until you've had a chance to hear my definition? Now, probably most of you watching this have had a good experience just based on the fact that network marketing is larger than it's ever been before as an industry. There's more people involved than ever before. Satisfaction surveys shows that the vast majority of people either have bought a product, enjoyed the experience, or are a distributor involved in the industry. But I also recognize there are some people who have had a negative experience. And of course, that's not unusual in any industry. You have Enron, who was a huge, in corporate America, a huge corporation. You have Arthur Andersen, one of the top 5 accounting firms in the world that we found out wasn't what we thought it was. So there's always, it's good apples and bad apples. But so will you just reserve judgment for a moment, and I'd like to just explain what I mean when I say I love network marketing. First of all, let me ask you a question. Who invented network marketing? Well, best I can tell, Jesus invented network marketing. Think about it for a moment. He had the gospel, the good news that he wanted to spread around the world, right? How did he choose to do that? I don't want to call it a product, but he had, the good news, the gospel. He believed in it, right? It works. It's powerful. And how is he going to spread that? Well, he chose to do the opposite of probably what most publicists, if you were to hire a publicist and say, how do I go out there and become the #1 best-selling author? How do I, get my name all over the world, get this message? They probably wouldn't recommend the method he chose. But he chose what I refer to as network marketing. He chose to train 12 ordinary people to pour his life into them. And Jesus said, I came not to be served, but to serve. He didn't come with a big fancy title. He didn't come with a position, where bossing people around. He came and served them. He rolled up his sleeves and washed the disciples' feet. He walked with them. He ate with them. He didn't just teach them, although he did. He showed them. He modeled the behavior. And then after 3 years, he left and he said, what did he tell them? It's referred to as a Great Commission. Go ye into all the world and share this good news. Teach starting in Jerusalem, Judea, and the uttermost parts, and share with them, teach them everything I have taught you, and I'll be with you unto the ends of the earth. And that's referred to as a Great Commission, which, by the way, I think that should impact every believer when we understand it. It should impact our career choices, everything about our life. But again, Jesus chose the model of network marketing. And so, you might say, though, well, Josh, but there's a big difference between the gospel and selling a product. There is, and please don't be offended by it. I'm not trying to say that, trying to compare them as in being equal by any means, but I am comparing the model. And I want to say this about sales. I believe that sales should be, now is not oftentimes, but should be the most honorable profession if it's about filling a need in the marketplace. You see, there's 7-point-something billion people on the planet. There's a lot of needs. And to me, sales should be about a product that I genuinely believe in my heart. And it should be about, just being a blessing to others, getting to know people, discovering needs. And if they have a need, then seeking to fill that need and learn how to communicate and to offer value so I can show them how the product that I believe in can be a blessing in their life. Which, by the way, when you grow in communication skills, it also helps you to be more effective at sharing the gospel. It also, by the way, helps you be more effective as a husband, as a wife, as a parent, as a leader in your church. So that's what sales should be. It should never be about selling ice to Eskimos, because Eskimos don't need ice. It shouldn't be about, hey, you're my friend, so buy from me. No. Now, as a friend, as a friend of yours, well, I should naturally want to be a blessing to you. But I don't believe that when you're in the sales role that you and I should be saying buy from me because I'm your friend. Now, you may say, as a friend, trust me, or as a friend, will you listen to this? Because you believe you have something that can be of value. It's not, hey, buy a more expensive product from me just because I'm your friend. No, you want to be a blessing. That's how you get to have lots of friends. He was friendly. He who serves, lays down his life, shall have many friends. So that's what sales should be. And then work should be honorable. In Genesis it says, 6 days shall a man work, and on the seventh shall he rest. Too often we seem to separate as Christians work from ministry. There shouldn't be such a distinction. You see, it should be about living a life beyond Sunday. It's not about just what we do on Sunday. It's about the Great Commission and fulfilling it out in the marketplace. You see, in fact, in America, it's becoming harder and harder to even get people to church. So it should, even more so than ever, it should be about what career path will allow me to have the greatest impact in other people's lives. I read a book many years ago called You Can Change the World by Father Keller. He started the Christopher movement, and he was imploring people, he was challenging people and challenging Christians to ask themselves, what profession can have the greatest impact? And then looking at your unique gifts, talents, and abilities and getting into a profession that would give them the greatest platform to make a difference. See, I believe that life is so short. And I believe that, in addition to the Great Commission, we're called to love God with all of our hearts, all of our mind, all of our soul, all of our strength, and to ask ourselves, how can we have the greatest impact? And then whatever we do, how can we love God with everything and have the greatest impact for the hours that we invest? And so for me, again, I find network marketing, it's not for everyone. And don't think I'm trying to convince everyone to get into it. God's got different paths for different people. We need people in the different professions. But I believe that if you feel called to this, you should embrace it and be proud of it. If you believe in what you're doing, if you believe you're offering value. And I want to go further. If you're following the Jesus model and doing that. What do I mean? Well, I've seen through my many years in the network marketing industry that some people, well-meaning, will oftentimes, they'll try to recruit everybody. The 3-foot rule. If they're within 3 feet, they're trying to recruit them. See, again, I believe it's about filling needs in the marketplace. And yes, you're paid, in network marketing, you're paid 2 ways. One, for the products that you personally sell. And then secondly, you're paid to mentor, disciple, whatever word you want to call, to train and teach others. Because after all, if you want to make an impact in business, in ministry, in any area, the reality is that impact is hidden from those who try to do it all or must do it all themselves. So you only have 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. And you might say, well, it's just easier to get it done myself. But you know what? It's not easier to have a great impact and do it all yourself. You can't. Impact is revealed to those who are patient enough to train others. Notice, patient. It takes time. People can be messy. First, we got to grow as leaders in our leadership ability. Leaders aren't born. Leaders are made. We may be born with more ability, but we can grow and develop those gifts and those talents and those abilities. We can turn weaknesses into strengths and learn how to mentor, disciple others. And that is what network marketing is about. And again, it's not about throwing everyone in the hopper and loving them and leaving them and hoping a few pan out. No, it's about rolling up your sleeves, like we talked about earlier, if it's done right, following the Jesus model, serving, walking with them. See, and if network marketing, if it's done correctly, you don't make money by signing somebody up. See, that's a pyramid if you do. It's illegal, in fact. You don't make money just by enrolling people. You make money when a product or service is moved. Does that make sense? So you have to learn you should learn to mentor, teach, and develop people by doing it and then showing them how it's done. And then if you do that effectively and you're patient long enough, you'll be able to multiply your efforts many, many times. And that is how the gospel spread all over the world. And he became the #1 best-selling author of all time. You see, and in network marketing too, you don't have a position of authority. You don't have a position where you can boss people around because I'm your boss, show up, do this, do that. See, this business forces people. Some people complain about it. They don't like it. But they should embrace it. This business forces you, if you'll stick it out and you'll be patient, to earn the influence, the ability to influence others. See, that should be the definition of leadership, the ability to influence others. And that's not a right. That's something you must earn. And see, people know whether you genuinely care about them. Sooner or later, they figure it out. Are you all about you? Is it all about you, making a fortune or you doing this? Or do you care about their goals and their dreams? And are you about serving them? Service to many leads to greatness. Again, Jesus' words, I came not to be served, but to serve. That's what this model should be about, servant leadership. And not everyone you bring on board is going to pan out. No, even Jesus, I like to say recruited a dud, Judas, right? But, so it's not that everyone's going to succeed, but you know what? One thing I love about this industry is that even if whether somebody stays with me as a promoter or distributor with my company for 6 months or 6 years or 60 years, my desire is that they'll walk away saying, number one, the products were great. Yeah, I want to continue using them. They filled a need in my life. They brought value. And then as far as the business, I read recently that within 10 years, 90% of businesses fail. So, it's true in network marketing as well, especially when you have so little skin in the game. It's such a small investment to get into this business. And yes, you have to grow and develop. And some people decide that, they don't want to grow and develop. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't lead where you won't go. Sometimes people get in the business and they're not willing to make the investment to learn, to grow. But you know what? My desire is, whether they stay with us for 6 months or 6 years or 60, that they'll walk away saying the products brought value, and the time that I spent with that company, I grew as a person. In fact, I have a friend who had a huge impact on my career, because I remember him sharing, this was a few years back, he shared in church, in fact. By the way, he was not building a network marketing business, nor did he have any interest in doing it. But he shared that in his past, the best thing he had ever done was join a network marketing company for his own personal growth and development, his spiritual growth and development. He said that was true for both he and his wife. And I remember hearing his boldness and sharing how God had used that. It just reminded me how blessed my wife and I have been, because I have grown so much through this business. And that's why I desire that one day the company that I'm a part of, that when a pastor in a church were to hear that this company, or that your company is going through that church, that pastor would say, you know what? I've heard rumors. I've heard their reputation. Number one, they'll bring value to people's life. Number two, if someone chooses to be a part-time or a full-time distributor, rep, or whatever you may call it, my people will grow in leadership ability. They'll become better husbands, better fathers, better lay leaders in the church. See, that's what it should be about. And that's where, when I thought about my friend's words, and I was asked to join an executive role within the company that I'm with, and at first I said, no way. First of all, I'd always had my own business and I had freedom, but also, which is one of the beautiful benefits of this business, is being free. When God says, do this, that you can go. And, not everyone, by the way, has that privilege to be free. Not everyone does. In some countries, you don't get to look at your unique gifts, talents, and abilities and choose a career path that will allow you to best leverage those, to have the greatest impact, to serve and carry out the Great Commission. That's why Paul said, if you are a servant or you are a slave, serve your master well in all things, that the gospel be not blasphemed. But if you can get free, it's a wonderful thing. So when I was first asked to be an executive, I said, no way. But as I thought about it, not unless God told me to, but as I thought about it more over the months, I ended up deciding to join in the corporate role that I'm in. And we still have our business that my wife runs. So it's nice to know that we still have that freedom if God were to call me away. But that this business, this industry, is the best industry I know of to have the greatest impact. And my desire, I have a twofold mission that I want to be a part of. Number one is ending the trend of chronic disease. Our company is about health and wellness products. And number two, in the course of bringing value to the marketplace in that way, I want to become the number one personal growth and leadership development company in the world. Because in network marketing, you have the opportunity to influence so many people, whether they choose part-time or full-time, to build a business. It's like real estate in some ways, that you're going to have a lot of part-timers. In fact, did you know that in real estate, 90% of people who get into real estate, I've heard this, I haven't verified it, but I know it's somewhere around this, 90% never even sell a home. But if in the process of being a part in our industry, network marketing, if they grow as a person and the products provide value, then you know what? It's a win-win. And so that's why I get so excited about this business. And that's where I would challenge you. I would challenge you that if you're in this industry, get excited, get passionate, because it is the best. It's not perfect, but it's the most fair, ethical, powerful business model that I know to live a life of impact. And I think about my life through these lenses. when I get to the end of my life and I'm sitting in a rocking chair, and the first time I said this, my wife said, you'll either be rocking a baby or you're dying. I said, I'm dying in this case. because otherwise I never like to sit. But I'm sitting in that rocking chair and I'm rocking back and forth and I'm thinking about the meaning and purpose of my life. And I want you to think about that. Imagine you're in that rocking chair. There's 3 things that I think that are going to matter to me at that point. Number 1, did I keep the faith? Because it's not a given that we'll finish stronger than we started, but that's my prayer. Number 1, I kept the faith. Number 2, I was my family. I was there for them. In other words, I served them. I was a good husband, a good father. And then 3rd is going to be the life of those I've had the privilege of impacting. Because anything that I may have been blessed to accumulate, possessions, I can't take with me. But what will and it won't continue on, but will continue is, who cares about the name of a building? But if I impacted people's life by investing in them and helping them be better people, even if they're entirely different career paths now, if I made a difference and helped them be a better person, have a greater impact, then guess what? My legacy continues. Whether they even take time to give me credit for that or not, it doesn't matter. It was a life worth living. And I believe I'll hear him say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. So, again, that's the answer. Why, as a Christian, I absolutely love network marketing, because I believe it's the best platform to make an impact and to be able to transform lives. And I believe that we're all called to work. 6 days shall a man work. So if we're going to work, why not do something that can have an eternal impact because of the value that we've offered others and served them and impacted their life? So let's go out there and make it an awesome day and an awesome week. And I pray that whatever profession you're in, that you're able to leave a legacy of impact that continues on.